So after 18 years, I think Iron Man actually might be better than I remember. And weirdly, one of the biggest reasons is because the MCU didn't exist yet.
How about that?
With Avengers Doomsday coming up, I decided I was going to go back and watch the MCU and the Fox X-Men movies to see if they still hold up and where they belong on my final ranking. And I gotta say, we're starting off hot with Iron Man 2008, the thing that started it all. So we get thrown right into the action the moment this movie starts with the attack on Tony's convoy. This immediately sets the tone, the motivation, and the reason Tony built the Mark I suit. And this movie does a good job of making you feel like you know this character and not having big information dumps. And whenever they do supply information, it feels organic. Now, going back and watching this movie as an adult compared to when I watched it as a kid opened up a whole new viewing experience for me. When I first watched this as a kid, I thought, wow, this is badass. We have Tony Stark being Iron Man, building this suit, like it can't get much better than this. But now as an adult, I pick up on the underlying message of corporation corruption and what it can do if it goes unchecked. With Tony building the suit as a hammer of judgment on his own company. And I really enjoyed the whole side plot of Stark Industries board trying to drop Tony as a CEO because it was hurting their value of stock in the stock market, which isn't an unlikely scenario for a CEO of a weapons manufacturer coming out and saying, we're not making weapons anymore. But from our point of view, it all makes sense because you're seeing Tony's character growth in real time. He's going from his main defense being, hey, I'm making these weapons to protect American lives, and then immediately seeing his weapons kill the Americans he thought he was protecting. Which if we break this movie down, it's just one man trying to stay true to his promise. And I will say, this movie is nostalgic heavy. Like going back and seeing all this high-end tech that they're advertising in this movie and realizing that stuff is way outdated in today's world, paired up with the music choices, the hairstyles, and the outfits that people wore back then. Like, who would have thought that Iron Man would be a period piece? And I really don't know how to feel about that. But we can't talk about a superhero movie without talking about the villain, which is the driving force of this entire movie. And for the first half, we think that the villain of this movie is the 10 Rings and that their whole goal is to get the Iron Man technology and to make an Iron Army. With us to find out in the third act that the real villain is Obadiah, Tony's right-hand man, who ordered the hit on Tony so that he can seize control of Stark Industries. And as an adult, seeing this reveal again, it still hits. Like, Obadiah is supposed to be a father figure who stepped in for Tony when his dad passed. But now that Tony has taken the limelight away from Obadiah, he's jealous and wants to get rid of him, which Obadiah is just a great representation of what's wrong with these corporations. It's not only about money, but it's all about pride. Like, it doesn't matter that Tony is bringing value to the company. Obadiah wants all the attention for himself, which is funny because without Tony, Stark Industries wouldn't have the technology advancements that it has. And Obadiah is just riding the coattails of Tony's genius, which we even see in the conclusion where he copies the Iron Man suit and makes it the Ironmonger. Like, bro couldn't even make up a different name. And I think Iron Man falls victim to that complaint that everybody has where you have the hero fighting a villain with a similar power set. But I think this one is an exception to the rule because this is a representation of how both characters view the Iron Man technology. You had Tony who built a sleek, mostly non-lethal suit which its purpose is to save people. And then you had Obadiah who made a massive suit with as many weapons on it as possible, just there for profit. It's the same exact technology, but with different motivations. And it can't be an origin story without an introduction to a higher power and setup for future movies, which we have with S.H.I.E.L.D. And not only do you have Agent Coulson in the entire movie kind of hinting on what they were working toward, but then you have Nick Fury in the after credit scene played by Samuel L. Jackson. And seeing this again as an adult, it just hits. And with that introduction, this cast is just absolutely stacked. And I think that speaks true to the entire first three phases of the MCU. Like, they got the casting perfect in every single role. And I mean, this movie just doesn't work without this cast. To sum this up, Iron Man doesn't work because it was the start of the MCU. It holds up because if the MCU never happened, it would still be an amazing film to this day. It has great pacing, a simple story, an iconic hero, and world building that really set the MCU on a pace to be the success that it is today. And if I were to give this movie a number rating, I gotta give it a 9 out of 10. I know we're starting off on a pretty high ranking, but man, this movie is just that good. And obviously, with this being the first addition to the Road to Doomsday, its current ranking is going to be at number 1. And this will be adjusted as we get more reviews in this series, but I think it's going to hold strong and stay toward the top toward the end. Which leads me to the next movie that we're going to be covering in this series, which is the original X-Men movie. And I guess we'll have to see if it holds up.